Levi Coovert is a student at Washington State University who spoke to Charlie Kirk last year, joins me now. Tell me more about your interaction with the late Mr. Kirk.
Yeah, well, he came to our university back in April doing one of his kind of prove me wrong events. And so I was one of the kind of 50-ish students who waited in line, and I wanted to prove him wrong. So I went over and I had like a 3-4 minute conversation with him, tried to prove him wrong.
Did you?
No, well, I couldn't get him to admit it. I don't think he admits it very often, but I asked him how he feels about the Associated Press being kicked out of the White House newsroom and why I thought that that was not okay for the president to do.
Let me preface, all of this, of course, that what happened is beyond anything that anybody could ever accept in any democratic scenario. So that's the basis upon which you and I are speaking. But tell me, what is it about his views? Was it about his philosophy that attracted people, do you think?
I think people were looking for a voice. I think especially young men, they were just feeling lost, and they didn't have a voice, and they saw him as this guy who represented them in this weird way. He had a way of speaking to people that made them feel like they were part of this big community, this big group. I mean, I remember when I was there, most of the students were very supportive of him, and they were really, I mean, they loved him, I think. And in a way, they viewed him as like this leader for them, this voice for their movement.
How did you view him? On a political and philosophical basis.
Yeah, I viewed him as somebody who I don't think his views came from the right place. I thought he was very provocative. I disagree with a lot of what he had to say personally. So I viewed him more as a sort of somebody who liked to instigate. But I did respect the fact that he had these open conversations. I liked that he was giving students a chance to debate.
Right. Now let's go down this road, if we may, because the issue now in America is how do people disagree without becoming disagreeable? And that's at the very lowest level. But then how do you disagree and lower the temperature so that those who are inclined to violence just realize this is not acceptable? I mean, I accept, Levi, that there's going to be those who are either with mental health issues, that creates an entirely different spectre. But here we have an issue in the United States of political violence, which I think everybody, yourself, I'm sure, agrees is simply not acceptable.
Yeah, it's not acceptable. And I think the way we have to go about it is to just be able to have open discussions, understanding that, yeah, people are going to disagree. But we are all still, at the end of the day, we're all trying to make the country a better place. And so his vision for America is a vision that I don't agree with, but he does have that vision, and everybody has the vision for how they believe America should go. So I think we should all approach those conversations from that perspective instead of the perspective of, like, I hate this person, I just disagree.
Right, but do you think your generation can go along with that? Can you're familiar with Voltaire's famous quote, I disagree with everything you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Do you think that in modern day Gen Z, millennial, whatever it is, America, that is still a view that is held?
I think it is, and I'm actually very inspired by the reactions of a lot of my peers and friends here who are kind of holding that same perspective, saying maybe we've gone too far, maybe we need to actually talk these issues out more and be more respectful of one another after this kind of has happened and kind of woke a lot of people up, I think.
So let me ask you this then, finally. What do you now want to hear from political leaders on both the right and the left and all the way from the top to the bottom? What do you want them to say?
I want them to say, look, let's come together and let's understand that we can build something better in the United States, but we have to start now. And I would like to hear less blaming. I would like to hear less of the pointing fingers and more of the let's understand that we can be better, but it has to start now. It has to start with all of us.
And I'm grateful, sir, joining us from Washington State. Thank you very much.